talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. And then mantra 3, Utsaha Nishchayat Daryat Tatat Karma Pavartana Sato Vrite Sangatyagat Sato Vrite Sadbir Bhakti Prasidati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1. Being enthusiastic. 2. Endeavoring for confidence. 3. Being patient. 4. Acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. And 5. Abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So today we're going to begin mantra 4. Dadati pratigrinanti guyam akyati prichyati punkte bojayate chaiva sadvida pritilakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind and confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada, and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So here we are, 6 symptoms of love exhibited between devotees. That is, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind and confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting holy prasadam, and offering prasadam. These are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1. Giving charity to the devotees. 2. Accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3. Opening one's mind to the devotees. 4. Inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5. Honoring prasada, or spiritual food, given by the devotees. And 6. Feeding the devotees with prasada. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guyam Akyati Prichyati. When a devotee distributes prasada, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept his prasada as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasada, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Bhunkte Bojayate Chaiva. Even in ordinary social activities, there are 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends which are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel. And over the feast, openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti, or love, in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangatyagat Sato Vrite. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society, or Krishna Consciousness, was started single-handedly. But because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy. The society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. We sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite life members and friends to participate in the feasting by accepting prasada. Although most of our members come from the higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasada we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna-conscious activities. The life of the Krishna-conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita 262, it is said, Sangat sanjayate kama. One desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and it is already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shavanadi Sudachita Karaya Udai. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. Simply by hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, one's heart is directly purified and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Krishna consciousness is not artificially imposed upon the heart. It is already there. When one chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the heart is cleansed of all mundane contamination. In the first stanza of his Shikshastaka, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Sherak Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Pratipradam Pranam Ritasvadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Not only is the chanter of the Maha Mantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is also cleansed. Even the souls embodied in lower animals, insects, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. This was explained by Thakur Haridas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from him how living entities lower than human beings can be delivered from material bondage. Haridasa Thakura said that the chanting of the holy names is so powerful that even if one chants in the remotest parts of the jungle, the trees, and animals will advance in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing the vibration. This was actually proved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he passed through the forest of Jarikanda. At that time, the tigers, snakes, deer, and all other animals abandoned their natural animosity and began chanting and dancing in Sankirtan. Of course, we cannot imitate the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. We are not powerful enough to enchant the lower animals such as tigers, snakes, cats, and dogs, or entice them to dance. But by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. So you notice, he says, by chanting the holy names of the Lord. He didn't say by preaching. He's emphasizing the chanting or performance of Sankirtan. We can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. Contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or giving charity, the Dadati principle. By the same token, one must also follow the Patigrinanti principle and be willing and ready to receive the transcendental gift. One should inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. Thus, the Guyam Aikyati Prichati principle can be served. In other words, inquiring about Krishna consciousness and also revealing one's mind in confidence. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness invite the Society's members and supporters to dine with them when they hold love feasts in all their branches every Sunday. Many interested people come to honor Prasada, and whenever possible, they invite members of the Society to their homes and feed them sumptuously with Prasada. In this way, both the members of the Society and the general public are benefited. People should give up the company of so-called yogis, jnanis, karmis, and philanthropists because their association can benefit no one. If one really wants to attain the goal of human life, he should associate with devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement because it is the only movement that teaches one how to develop love of God. Religion is the special function of human society, and it constitutes the distinction between human society and animal society. Animal society has no church, mosque, or religious system. In all parts of the world, however, downtrodden human society may be, there is some system of religion. Even tribal aborigines in the jungles also have a system of religion. When a religious system develops and turns into love of God, it is successful. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 126, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo, Yato Bhakti Rahokchaje Ahaitaki Pratyata Yayat Ma Suprasidati. The supreme occupation, Dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. So we have the two words, ahaituki apratihata. Ahaituki means unmotivated, and apratihata means without any interruption. That's the way one should engage in devotional service. Then it is completely satisfying to the self. If the members of human society actually want peace of mind, tranquility, and friendly relations between men and nations, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion, by which they can develop their dormant love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as people do so, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur warns all devotees engaged in broadcasting the Krishna consciousness movement not to speak to the impersonalist Mayavadis who are always determined to oppose such oppose such theistic movements. The world is full of Mayavadis and atheists, and the political parties of the world take advantage of Mayavada and other atheistic philosophies to promote materialism. Sometimes they even back a strong party to oppose the Krishna consciousness movement. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people on God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. Kevalam vishavardhanam. If a snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent Mayavadis and karmis. Such disclosures will never help. It is best to avoid association with them completely and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give good advice. Nor should we extend invitations to Mayavadis and atheists, nor accept their invitations, for by such intimate intermingling, we may become affected by their atheistic mentality. Sangat sanjayate kamam. It is the negative injunction of this verse that we should refrain from giving anything or accepting anything from the Mayavadis and atheists. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also warned, Vishayira ana kaile dusta hoyamana. By eating food prepared by worldly people, one's mind becomes wicked. Unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, on principle, one should not accept charity from the Mayavadis or atheists. So here, notice he says, unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, in principle, one should not accept charity from the Mayavadis or the atheists. So, a very advanced devotee is or might be capable of accepting contributions from Mayavadis and atheists. But in general, ordinary devotees may not be strong enough to help them and help Krishna consciousness by accepting such donations. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden devotees to associate even with ordinary men who are too addicted to material sense gratification. The conclusion is that we should always keep company with devotees, observe the regulative devotional principles, follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, and in full obedience carry out the orders of the spiritual master. In this way, we should be able to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness. The devotee who is neither a neophyte nor a Mahabhagavat, a greatly advanced devotee, but is within the middle status of devotional service, is expected to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friends with the devotees, show favor to the ignorant, and reject the jealous and demoniac. In this verse, there is brief mention of the process of making loving transactions with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and making friends with the devotees. According to the Dadati principle, an advanced devotee is supposed to spend at least 50% of his income on the service of the Lord and his devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has set such an example in his life. When he decided to retire, he distributed 50% of his life's earnings to Krishna's service and 25% to his relatives, and kept 25% for personal emergencies. This example should be followed by all devotees. Whatever one's income, 50% should be spent on behalf of Krishna and his devotees, and this will fulfill the demands of Dadati. In the next verse, Srila Rupa Goswami informs us what kind of Vaishnava should be selected as a friend and how Vaishnavas should be served. Dadati pratigrinanti guyam akyati pritchati. Bhukte bhojayate chaiva sadvida pritilakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prashada, and offering prashada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So, this exchanging 6 types of, or 6 manifestations of love is a fundamental principle for which the temple is founded. The temple is a place where these 6 types of loving exchanges take place. It's not a place for gossip. It's not a place for mundane socializing. It's a place for exchanging the 6 types of love. Therefore, Krishna says, if one offers me love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So, we also engage in these 6 types of exchanges with Krishna, not only with devotees, but also with Krishna. So, we're offering Krishna with love and devotion, holy food, and he offers it back, sanctified, as his love and mercy for the devotee. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, for the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. Therefore, it's also said, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavana, nacha bhavyatak santir asantasya kutasukam. So, in 2nd chapter, 66th verse, it says, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there's no possibility of peace, and how can there be any happiness without peace? So, here we have a promise here that when we're engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, we can obtain a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process for achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be adopted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy, and that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious? By this simple method, and thus attain the highest perfection of life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non-devotee. He is not in need of anything from anyone because he is self-sufficient, and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti, or devotional service, is the only means to approach Krishna. No other condition, such as becoming a brahmana, a learned scholar, a very rich man, or a great philosopher, can induce Krishna to accept some offering. Without the basic principle of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never casual, the process is eternal, It is direct action in service to the absolute whole. So, Krishna is promising eternal life, peace, and happiness. And this is a theme that runs through the entire Bhagavad Gita. Bhuktiram yagitapasam sarvaloka mahesram surhidam sarvabhutanam yatva santim yatva mam santim richati. He also says in 5th chapter, 29th verse, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So, this verse is called the peace formula. The conditioned souls within the clutches of illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. So here is the, let's call it the prerequisite for attaining peace. And then it says, Nachabhavi atak santir asantasya kuta sukham. That without having a steady mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna and Krishna consciousness, there's no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So, this let's call it self-induced state of peace is a requirement in order to achieve happiness. So that peace has to be internal, within the mind. So there are many verses explaining how to attain that peace. For example, the state of being Krishna conscious is naturally a happy state because the mind becomes peaceful. It's no longer attracted to sense gratification. Sukham aityantikam yattad buddhirgayam atindriyam vetiyatcha chinchayvayam stitas chalati tatvataha yam ladva chaparam labam manyate nadikam tata yasmin stito nadukena guru napi vichalyate. This says, 6th chapter, verses 20 to 23. In that stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there's no greater gain being situated in such a position One is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So, this state of unadulterated and unending happiness is attained when one can remain in trance or samadhi. In other words, when one's mind is restrained from material mental activities and focused constantly on Krishna, one becomes joyful, and first of all peaceful, and then joyful. Therefore, unless one can attain this state of peace, they cannot have the experience of transcendental happiness. So this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita more thoroughly in the 5th and 6th chapter. So in the 5th chapter, it says, Kamakrodha vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasam atitu brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. So we hear abito brahma nirvanam. Hare Krishna. So that means those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. So, they've conquered anger and all material desires. They've become self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection. In other words, always constantly endeavoring to please the Lord. Such people are assured liberation. Therefore, it says, Yo antak sukho antar aramas tatantar jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digachati. Again, he's speaking of Brahma Nirvanam, liberation in Krishna consciousness. Meaning, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So here Prabhupada says, unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Now, this is an extremely powerful verse, extremely profound, and extremely difficult to understand. Because we're not seeking happiness within. We've been taught to seek happiness without. Then it says, Labhate Brahma Nirvanam. Again, it's mentioning Brahma Nirvanam, liberation in Krishna consciousness, liberation by connection to Krishna. Labhate Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Shinakalmasaha China Dvaida Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So, again, it's giving an example of how one can attain transcendental peace and happiness in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada explains, only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties is the hard struggle for life. And the real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle or in the material plane. Well, here's the issue. One cannot rise above the dualities, or one cannot go beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, unless one's absolutely convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one has correctly analyzed that the real cause of suffering of people in their daily struggle for existence or struggle for life is caused by forgetfulness of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord. Now, temporary relief through of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. Therefore, Prabhupada has clearly said that opening hospitals and engaging in mundane welfare work is not acceptable. Many times, people recommended to Prabhupada to open a hospital or some medical clinic to help the poor. He refused. He said, this is not real help. There are direct quotes like that. Why? Because just temporarily relieving a person's suffering is not the solution to the problem. If anything, it may prolong the problem. So, therefore, he says, a person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. He gives the example of blowing on a boil. If you have a boil in your hand and it's hot and burning and you go like that, you get some temporary relief for a few seconds. But that is not real relief. That's not solving the problem. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. In other words, the material tabernacle, a tabernacle is a place where God is existing. But the material tabernacle is a place where one does not see the existence of God. The spiritual tabernacle is a place where you actually see the existence of God, such as in a temple or in your heart. Therefore, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So, This is difficult for people to understand. They do not look for happiness within. They're always looking for happiness without. Therefore, they're going to nightclubs, just like in France, we had a temple right near the Arc of Triumph, which is very, in Paris, it's a very prominent place. And one night we were driving with Prabhupada back to the temple from a program, and he noticed there was a long line of old men waiting to get into a nightclub. And he said, "What is that?" And the devotees looked, and they said, "It's a nightclub." He said, "And does it cost money to enter?" And the devotee said, "Yes, probably about $50 or $100 just to get in." He said, "So there's a long line of old men waiting to get in to this nightclub." And I said, "What goes on in the nightclub?" And the devotees were a little embarrassed, but they said, it's a nudie club, Prabhupada. So he said, "Just see. They're old men, and they have a wife. They've been married for so many years. But they're not satisfied. So they go and pay so much money just to get in and see naked bodies. So they can go home and see a naked body, but they're paying to see naked bodies." So he said, this is the problem. Yes, they're looking for happiness without, because they don't understand that the real happiness is within. Discovering the existence of supersoul within the heart is what gives real happiness. But they have no knowledge of that. They've been dumbed down by materialistic society and materialistic society, friendship, and love. Therefore, they don't know where to find love. Therefore, today's mantra is talking about how to achieve love in Krishna consciousness. Dadati pratigrinanti guyamakyati prichati. By exchanging the 6 forms of loving exchanges. What happens when one engages in these 6 forms of loving exchanges? Well, the following happens. Here, Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what types of sacrifices he desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme, in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be given to him, and he says of this offering, "I will accept it." Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Rather, vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings and are prescribed by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we eat cannot be offered to him, since he will not accept it. Thus, we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if we offer such foods. In the 3rd chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of material entanglement. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namo Vishnu Vinayak Namaste. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such an humble offering enables one to advance steadily in life to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be. Yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving, and in offering is to act with love for Krishna. The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the Absolute Truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. So this is another way to defeat Mayavad philosophy. The Mayavadis basically say God has no body, no senses, no eyes, no ears, no tongue, etc. He doesn't accept the offerings that you offer. It's all just sentimental. So we see that Mayavadis don't know what they're talking about. That is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. In the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so, in this instance, Krishna is hearing the devotee's words of love in offering foodstuff is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized because of his absolute position. His hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna, as he describes himself, without interpretation, can understand that the Supreme Absolute Truth can eat food and enjoy it. So, therefore, offering and accepting prasada is a sign of love. We can do that with Krishna as well as with all other living entities. Of course, we offer prasadam to the general public. Sometimes they try and offer something back, so they'll give us a cake with an egg in it, or they'll try and offer us a ham sandwich. So we cannot accept that because it's not offerable to Krishna. But if they offer us a fruit, a flower, water, that we can accept and offer it to Krishna, and then take that as prasada. So we have to be eclectic. We have to have intelligent discrimination to understand what is offerable to Krishna and what is not. Then we can engage in